Today we are talking about those big boys up front. We did the offensive line last time. Now we're talking about that defensive line. What is up, fans? Got a new camera. I'm still farting around with it a little bit, so if I'm a little blurry, I'm trying to figure things out with it. It's a Canon R10. It's new. It's not mirrorless, so supposedly it looks much better than my previous one, which was the Canon T8i. So now I'm rocking with a better camera. Hopefully my live streams will be nice, more crisp. Hopefully this looks crisper. I don't know. But today we're going to be talking about the defensive line. And I got one of your comments of the day. But for anybody who cares, here is an update. I finished the floating deck. And if you don't know what a floating deck is, it's about 2x4 height. So it's about 4 to 5 inches off the ground. I think it's 5. I think I did the studs and I lifted it 5 inches off the ground. There it is. It's done. My whole body hurts. I am 6'5" and it is 5 inches off the ground. I'm also doing my front porch, which is much higher, so it doesn't hurt my back as much. But it's done. It's done. Well, let's talk about some Miami Dolphins football. Now, I am going to essentially put the outside linebackers in with the defensive line. I know that might be blasphemy for some of you guys, but to me, they rush the passer more than they drop back into coverage. So to me, they kind of fit in, especially in that 3-4 defense. They kind of fit in on that, pass rusher. Like if you go on PFF and you look up like Bradley Chubb or Jalen Phillips stats, they're on edge. So I'm going to lump them in with defensive line. So I'm going to run down the list of who we have. You have Sealer. Actually, let me pull up because I don't think I have the depth chart in front of me from ESPN because that helps me out a little bit. But if we go off of the team's database, it'll give me a better understanding because there's a lot. It's like 11 defensive tackles. Here we go. We have Calais Campbell. They haven't listed as defensive tackle. To me, he's more of an end, but I guess DT-esque. Neville Gallimore, Deshaun Hand, Jonathan Harris, Benito Jones, Mario Kendricks, who is an undrafted free agent. You got Isaiah Mack, Leonard Payne, undrafted free agent, Brandon Peely, Zach Sealer, Terry Tart, and that is your defensive tackles. And then when it comes to the outside linebacker guys, we have Jalen Phillips, Bradley Chubb, Chop Robinson, Cameron Good, Ezekiel Vandenberg, Shaq Barrett, Mo Kamara, and Quentin Bell are your outside guys. There's a lot. Mostly it's defensive tackle, but again, it's a 3-4 system. So there's nose tackles with the defensive tackles. Like if you go on ESPN, they have considered Neville Gallimore, Benito Jones, Tart, and Brandon Peely considered the nose tackles. And then the defensive ends on the left and the right are Sealer, Campbell, Mack, Deshaun Hand, Leonard Payne, and Mario Kendricks. We don't know what Weaver's going to run yet, but when you look at this defensive line, you got Zach Sealer, who's, essentially the captain of the defensive line. 9 tackles, tied for 7th among defensive linemen. 11 hits, tied for 14th. 36 hurries, tied for 11th. And 35 stops, tied for 12th, again, amongst defensive linemen. The thing that's going to hurt the most is how are we going to do without Christian Wilkins? But I think the addition of Calais Campbell is going to help us. But I think they're going to want to run it with some type of like hockey formation type thing. And I think Weaver even talked about it. It was a lot of in and out. But I'll get to who's fighting for a position. Then you have Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips seem to be your guys on the outside. Now, Bradley Chubb is coming off a very bad injury against the Baltimore Ravens. Shouldn't have been out there. He ended the season with 1 game left with 13 sacks, tied for 12th among edges, 13 hits, tied for 11th among edges, and 39 stops, tied for 8th. He was having a real resurgence of a career, especially after the Tennessee Titan game, where he had the stupid penalty where he threw his helmet off because he couldn't get the sack on Will Levis, kind of put them in a really good position to score. And then you had Jalen Phillips, who got hurt against the Jets. He had 7 sacks, 4 hits, 16 hurries, 22 stops. I honestly think if he never got hurt, he would have hit double-digit sacks for the first time in his career. Then you got Shaquille Barrett, a guy who's definitely going to help. Yes, he only had 5 sacks last year, but he's definitely still has a high motor and is going to help. And I already talked about Calais Campbell. Then you got the rookies. You got Chop Robinson, an extremely fast, high motor guy who's going to get after the quarterback. He's going to chase down the likes of Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, all of these guys. I think that's why they did go out and draft Chop, because of the fact that he has to go up against these fast quarterbacks. And then we have Mo Kamara, the unsung hero, and the guy who's a little pissed that he got drafted when he got drafted. And then you have the guys who are fighting to make the roster. And that's the likes of Leonard Payne, Brandon Peely. I think Brandon Peely has a better shot of I don't know, though. But yeah, you got Leonard Payne, Mario Kendricks, Ezekiel Vandenberg. Cameron Good made the roster last year, but he was on the practice squad. Cam Brown might be one of those special teamers. I think Tart, Gallimore, and Jones might be your 3 DTs that make that roster. Deshaun Hand, I think he makes it. But it's like Isaiah Mack, Leonard Payne, Mario Kendricks, Brandon Peely, Ezekiel Vandenberg, Cam Brown, and not Cam Brown. Cam Brown is considered inside linebacker. My apologies. Quentin Bell is a guy who will be fighting for position. Yeah, I think they run with Phillips, Chubb, Robinson, Barrett, Kamara. Good might not make the roster. So it might be Good, Vandenberg, Quentin Bell might not make the roster. Those are the guys who are fighting. And then on defensive line, like legit, Sealer, Gallimore, Campbell, Benito Jones, Hand, and Tart. I have like Isaiah Mack, maybe like this. Like the more you look at it, it's a little worrisome when you look at the way the defensive line is, because there is no big names like there was the previous years, having Sealer and Wilkins, and then you have Sealer and Wilkins, and then you bring in Benito Jones, a Gallimore, or Tart. You're like, okay, they're that rotational guy, because we did have my brain is just let me just. I don't know why, for the love of everything. Raekwon Davis. I didn't even look it up. Raekwon Davis, who, when he was on the field, he was on the field. But I think Benito Jones and Gallimore will be more of an impact when they're on the field versus what we had with our previous third guy. But fighting to make the roster, it's going to be hard, because they have to overtake, especially on the edge, those guys, the outside linebackers. What is Phillips going to do? He was out golfing a couple of weeks ago, looked really good. If you have a torn Achilles and it's sore and you can't do anything, you ain't golfing. Bradley Chubb, we don't know where he is at when it comes to his rehab. Could he? I would be shocked if he doesn't start on the pub. I think Phillips doesn't start on the pub. And I think worst case scenario, he doesn't play the first week or possibly 2 weeks. I think Bradley Chubb starts on the pub and he comes back week 5. So I think we go into the season with Chop, Shaquille Barrett, Mo Kamara, and Jalen Phillips as our pass rushers. And then our defensive tackle / edges on that 3-4, Sealer, Campbell. And then you have a nice rotation of Gallimore, Benito Jones, and Tart. But I don't know. I don't know what Anthony Weaver's going to do. I'm excited to be down at camp so I can tell you guys what I see and all that stuff. But it's going to be very interesting. Comment below. Let me know who you think. What do you think the defensive line / outside linebackers are going to look like? Comment below, and we get to one of your guys' comments of the day. This comment comes from Restoring Honor. He says, comment of the day, what position are you most concerned about for 2024? I wasn't going to say defensive line, but like I'm looking at it and there aren't any names that I'm like, ooh, I can't wait to watch him do his thing. But it's going to be offensive line. I know that the defensive line is going to probably take a little bit of a step back and take a hot minute to, get into a groove, but it's that offensive line. I need to see them produce, help Tua get to his reads. I give you the stats constantly about 31st and pass win rate and dead last and time to throw and all this stuff. It's the interior of the offensive line. I just need to see better. Aaron Brewer surprised the crap out of me. Isaiah Wynn, please stay healthy. Who's going to be the right guard? There's so many questions. But yeah, that's to me, because I'm good at quarterback, and Tua just needs to take that next step for me to feel comfortable with whatever contract he gets. Good at running back, good at wide receiver, especially with the addition of Odell, good at tight end with the addition of Jonnu. I'm good at inside linebacker. I love the addition of Brooks and Walker. Outside linebacker, I'm good. In the defensive line kind of worries me. Corners, I'm good. Safeties, I'm good. So it's the trenches. How about that? Trenches worry me. And they'll always worry me until they prove that they can stand up and especially win towards the end of the year, because trenches is where you win championships. I keep looking at myself and I think I look blurry. I'm going to fix it. Again, new camera. I'm going to be working on it. But on that, I'll see you guys tomorrow with Richmond Webb. I am honored to bring back Richmond Webb. I think this is the third time he's now on the channel. Amazing human being. And I will be chatting it up with Richmond Webb, talking about offensive line and all this stuff. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. But like usual, stay classy. My fins up.